All right, welcome everyone. My name is Carmen and I'm the training coordinator for the Temple Small Business Development Center. The Temple SBDC helps small businesses start and grow. We provide free one-on-one counseling and a variety of low to no cost webinars, and we are proud to be a part of the nationally accredited network of SBDCs with over 1,000 centers across the United States. You have joined us this afternoon for WordPress for Beginners 2, Building Your Site. A copy of today's PowerPoint and a link to the recording of the session will be sent out to all attendees. And while all attendees have been muted, we encourage you to post any questions that you may have in the chat or Q&A. And now I will turn the floor over to Sheila.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to WordPress for Beginners 2, Building Your Site. Thank you so much for coming and joining me this afternoon. The presentation today is being put on by Temple University's Small Business Development Center, hosted by Temple's Fox School of Business. We've been serving the small businesses of Philadelphia, Eastern Montgomery, and Lower Bucks counties since 1983. Our mission is to provide entrepreneurs and business owners the knowledge needed to make smart decisions and to prosper. I'm Sheila Bishop, a business consultant with the SBDC. I have more than 35 years of varied IT experience, most recently before joining the SBDC as a VP of Monitoring Services Operations at Bank of America. I have a BA of Computer Science from Temple University. I'm a dog owner and an inveterate knitter. Today, I don't know if you were able to join us last week for WordPress for Beginners 1, but today we're going to be taking some of the things that we built last week, and we're going to be working on fleshing out the rest of our site and publishing our WordPress site. So we're going to pick a theme, and then we're going to see what happens when we change that theme. And then we're going to be customizing our site, fleshing it out and adding to it, including adding plugins and working on our media for this site, our images and what other media we can put on our site. So what is a theme? A theme is a group of files, graphics, style sheets, code that defines the overall appearance of your website. It defines how the content is presented and the behavior of features on your site. For example, if you pick a responsive design, which I absolutely recommend you do, and most of them are now responsive, it may reorder elements on your site when viewed from a mobile device. So the nice thing about WordPress themes is that it keeps the content and the appearance of your website separate. So that, 10 years from now, 5 years from now, if your website starts to look a little dated, like it's, you had gone with, neon colors because the 80s are kind of hip right now. The 80s are always hip, right? You can change that theme without losing the content, without losing the information about your products or your blog entries. You can update your site to make it look fresher and more modern and, still have all the content that you would work so hard to get on there. There are thousands of free and premium themes available. And a good place to start looking at themes and what's available is at wordpress.org/themes. This picture here is a picture of some themes that are available. And a couple of examples are Astra and Ocean WP. They're both highly rated themes that allow you to do e-commerce and business themes, but like I said, there are literally thousands of them out there. And we talked last week about building your content kind of on paper, figuring out your layout and how you want your website to look. And once you have all that, that's when you kind of go in and start looking at all these themes. And there are theme, like you can put in there, like I want e-commerce and I want this type of thing, and it'll make some suggestions on this wordpress.org.themes to help limit those choices. Because sometimes when you have thousands to look at, it's hard to even know where to start. So let's look at one example of a theme so you can see what kind of things you might want to look at. So Astra has both a free and premium option. So the free, first you probably want to look at the free option and see if it meets your needs. And if it does, great, right? So what does the free option give you? You can set up a blog, you can set up a portfolio, you can have a business website. You can expand what Astra has by, because it's compatible with the WooCommerce plugin. It's lightweight. It's compatible with Elementor or Divi website builders if you choose to go with one of those. And if you look over here, like there's lots of information in this, in the about what it does over here, like it's WooCommerce ready. You also want to look over here. Now, I didn't get a chance to check this. I first put this presentation together in August. So at that time, the last time it had been updated was July. But if we look now, it's been updated since then because it's a very popular, very active theme. So you want to make sure that it's actively being supported. In the version, and you see it has over 1 million installations. So it's very popular and used very often. And it's current with the current version of WordPress. You don't want to use a theme where you're stuck on an old version of WordPress. That's kind of dangerous because, you know, hackers are constantly trying to get into all old code, and you don't want to be stuck using old code because your theme keeps you there. The other thing is it's highly rated, right? It's 5 stars. There's a few people, you know, who gave it lower, but you know, the vast majority of people gave it 5 stars. And the other thing you want to look at is support. So if you click this button, this is what's coming up. And again, you know, obviously you haven't used this theme, so you don't have a support issue, but you can certainly look to see what kind of support issues people are having to see if they're, you know, terrible support issues. But the thing that I really look for is how quickly is support getting back to people. And you can see here, they're getting back to people relatively quickly. You know, it's not a week, 2 weeks, a month, right? So this seems like a stable theme that you might want to look at. And again, you know, you don't have to use this theme, but these are the type of things you want to look at when you're choosing your own theme. Okay. So again, know what features you want, you know, based on the homework you did ahead of time, knowing what you want in your website. And don't pick themes that have cool things that you don't really need, like a music player or gaming, right? Because they're most likely going to slow your site down. And if they're not really critical to, or even adding to the user experience of your site, then why slow your site down for them? And but you do want the site to be responsive, which means it's usable desktops, on tablets, on people's phones. It should be easy to customize and update. You should be able to update the color scheme so that it's consistent with your business color schemes and will harmonize with your logo. You want to make sure you can add your logo. You can control the layout, that you can update the headers and the footers. Like we mentioned, you want it to be highly rated, many reviews, and recently updated. Once you pick a theme, how do you install it? It's pretty straightforward. From the WordPress menu, you go to Appearance and Themes, you select your Add New, you find the theme you've chosen, and you click the Activate button on that theme. Now, some themes, if you've hired somebody to create a theme specifically for you, you will get that theme as a zip file. And the process to do that is also pretty straightforward. On that same screen, you go in and you say you want to create, load that zip file, and that's really the only extra step. The rest of it really is the same. And if you have that situation, if you just Google how to load a zip theme for WordPress, there's very straightforward directions. There's actually very straightforward directions from GoDaddy that, just are just a few steps. So really it's just about as easy. Now, if you have old themes on here, so, because when you're first starting, it's not a bad idea to try out a few themes. But if you have done that, when you're ready to go publish your site, it's a good idea to clean up all those old themes that you're not going to use. And to delete them, from the dashboard panel, select Appearance and Themes, hover over the theme you want to delete, and click Theme Details. And in the window that appears, the delete button will be in the bottom right-hand corner. And it literally is like right down here. And it's much less obvious than adding a theme. And I think that's on purpose so you don't accidentally delete themes that you might want to keep. So now let's take a look at adding a theme, and we're going to do so in our old friend Doggy Tails over here. Okay, so let's first look and see. Yep, we're still using the Astra theme. So right here it says WordPress 6.03 running the Astra theme. And if we remember, let's take a look at what our site looked like. All right, we have our nice header. We have our menu, all right? We have our nice home page. You can look at our About Us page, right? I did add this blog page for our blog entries we had added last time. So we have our nice, and if you were here last time, we had scheduled this Caring for Your Senior Dogs to post on this Monday, and it did post. So there we go. Okay, so that's what our website looks like now. So let's go and see what it will look like when we change themes. So we go down to Appearance, and we go to Themes, and there's a few different themes here. And if you want to see the details of any of these, you can just say View Theme Details. The one we're going to pick is this 2020, and like I said, this is one of the year themes that come with WordPress. They, put them out themselves. As I said, they generally are kind of showing different functions that they want to highlight. So if you click Theme Details, it'll, this one says it's taking full advantage of the flexibility of our block editor. So that's kind of what they were trying to show that time, right? So it's, kind of colorful. So let's go ahead and activate that theme. Okay, so now he's about saying it's active. And if we go back to our dashboard, and we look at the About Us, it says we're running 2020. And if we go and look at our site, we see that the color changed to their default color. Our design of our page is very different, right? We have this sort of bigger block heading. We not only have like our title, but we have our tagline up here. We have our menu, but now it's in very red. We got the search, this little search thing we didn't have before. This stayed the same color because that was something we set, but we have everything else has this kind of tanny background color. And then we also have all of this that we didn't have before. So we have to see where that came from, right? And our footer is also different looking. Okay, so let's see what else is different. Go back to our dashboard. And let's go to Appearances and Customize. And if we look, all of the things that showed up at the bottom were those widgets that I was talking about earlier, right? Those little pieces of content. So this theme has predefined widgets. And when we added the theme, that's one of the things that will change quite often when you change themes. It's so, like I said, your content is saved and it's not going to change. But if you are using widgets, that is one of the things that you have to be kind of cognizant of, is that when you go from one theme to another, the themes will treat widgets differently. And some themes will have widgets predefined, some will have sidebars with widgets. So if you have a theme you're using with a sidebar with widgets, the theme you go to, if it doesn't, you need to think about what you're going to do with that content, where you're going to put it when you pick the new theme. Okay. All right, so that's what changed when we picked this theme. So let's take a look at some of the other pages and see how they changed. So if we go to the About Us, I mean, mostly it's all consistent, right? The colors change. Since this was a footer, it's on all the pages. We go to our blog page, right? It's all kind of that consistent. We changed all the coloring and the formatting of those same things that were part of that theme. All right, so I don't think that looks good with our site. So let's pick a different one and see if we like that one better than either 2020 or or then Astra. So we'll go back to themes, And since we ultimately want to make this a doggy store, let's pick one that's more consistent with a storefront. But I don't see any here besides Astra that look, well, this one looks kind of nice for a storefront, but let's instead pick one that's actually a WooCommerce site theme, their free theme called Storefront. And you see, so we can pick Storefront, so we can search for it. You can type in whatever it is. So if you know of one that you looked up in from WordPress.org/themes, if you found a theme there and you're like, well, how do I find it? You can put it in here and it will show, it will find it for you. So here we have one that's not installed already, right? That other one had been installed already. So this one's not installed. We found it, we searched for it, we found it. So now we're going to install it, right? So we just hit install here. So it's taken a minute to install. And then once it's installed, we're going to go ahead and activate. Okay, now if you look, this site, right now it's kind of talking to us. It's telling us about enabling WooCommerce. All right, if we go into themes, right, it gave us more things under appearances, right? Put in the storefront, a pop-up builder, a theme file editor, right? So this theme came with a lot of extra things that 2020 certainly didn't, and that weren't in Astra either, right? And that's what I was saying about gamified, like, do we really need games? Do we need a floating bar? This is where you need to kind of think about that from this, was this theme really right for us? We just have a doggy care, are these things we really need? Are they going to slow down our site? So let's go back to appearances and oh, okay, so let's actually go up to our site and see how it looks different. Okay, so it's definitely kind of back to that clean look we had, right? So it's got rid of all that beige and red and everything. It's kind of tidier up here. We got our menu bar back, but now it's on the left and not the right. But now we have a sidebar, right? We still have widgets, but now they're on the sidebar. And we have, our footer, and we can go to our About Us page. It looks nicer, but this sidebar takes up a lot of space. So let's look at our blog. So our blog looks pretty good. And if we go to the customized, we can see what functions we have under customized for this theme, right? So we have, and see, like I said, this one's a little bit more chatty. You can see if we go into widgets, we have a sidebar widget this time, right? And that's all of the things in here. So we could take them out, if we didn't like them. And you could add things to the footer, right? You could add social media and everything to the footer, but that's what this theme looks like. So any questions so far?
We look pretty good in the chat.
Okay. So that's how you go about changing a theme. Now I'm going to go back to Astra because that is the theme I like to use. And again, we'll just go ahead and activate it. And we'll see what happened to our website, even though we changed themes twice, and see what that did. And it didn't do anything, right? Because like I said, content and we don't have a lot of widgets, and we didn't have any custom code or anything like that. If you do have an existing site that's been up in production for a while, when you go to change a theme, you do need to think about it a little bit more, right? Because this is a development site that we're and that's what's playing with the theme becomes a little easier. If you do have a custom site, you want to make sure you save any custom code that you may have put on the site, right? Because when you're changing between themes, that custom code is embedded a lot of times in your theme. So you want to make sure you have saved off any custom code. You want to make sure you backed up the site before you start changing the theme also. And if possible, you want to create a staging site. So you make a copy of your site and play with the themes in a staging site. And when you have it, all fixed the way you like it, then put that site into production. And you also want to, another thing you would like is a good idea is, especially if you have Google Analytics, check your page load speeds, kind of put a pin in when you've changed the themes to make sure you have that new theme hasn't slowed down your site any. And those are all good things for when you're changing your theme for an existing site. Okay. So that's all for changing sites. So let's go ahead and delete the theme we added, because like I said, it's a good idea to clean up any unnecessary themes. So we added storefront. So let's go into theme details. All right, and then remember I said it was really hard to find? It's right down here, the delete button, and asks if you really want to delete it, and we're going to say okay. And now that one's gone. Okay.
Sheila, Michael is asking in the chat, how do you back up your site? I heard it's good to do that.
Yep. So there's a couple ways you can back up your site, and some of it has to do with your hosting platform, and then there's some plugins you can use to back up your site. So we're not going into that now, but if you research some of the plugins, there's plugins you can use to help schedule backups of your site. But it is very good to back up your site. It's really required. You don't want to be left, something happens and you have no checkpoints to get back to. Okay. Okay, so now that we've picked our theme, we're going to go ahead and start customizing our site. So this is where you kind of really flesh it out and make it your own, right? So we want to make sure our site has a consistent color story throughout our whole site. So each page, tells the same color story. So if you notice, like I had the same blue and the same tan used consistently throughout my little doggy site, right? We want to get our logo on our site. We want to have a favicon, which is that little picture that's up in the tabs along the top of your browser, right? So I don't know about you guys, but by the end of the day, I have 3,000 things open in my browser. And the only way you can really tell what anything is by that little picture, because the words are all smushed up, right? We want to create our menus and say how we want our menus designed. And we even maybe want to do some work on our footers, maybe put social media there, our address. Like I said, maybe put your email here to get my newsletter, that type of thing in our footers. We took a look on a couple of those themes at widgets, right? And what widgets are small blocks of content, right, that you can put in the footer or those sidebars to capture things like your social media, your address, your address, things like that. And we saw how widgets can be changed by changing the themes, right? That they can move from the sidebar to the footer, or they can shrink down or get more obnoxious, right? Just depending on the theme itself. And the one thing we want to think about with colors is it's great to really use your business colors or that type of thing, but any colors you use on your site, you want to make sure that the text and the background color have enough contrast to make them readable for people who have like low vision, right? So there's a couple of sites you can go to that will check the contrast ratio between the background and the text to make sure that it meets like the Americans with Disabilities Act contrast ratio. So it's good to use your logo colors and your business colors, but you want to keep that in mind that your site also needs to be readable. So we talked a little bit about widgets, which are just content, but what's a plugin, right? So I just told the other gentleman that he could probably get a plugin that would help him with backups, right? Plugins are way more powerful than like a widget, because a plugin is actually software that plugs into your WordPress site to increase and extend its functionality, right? And plugins can be small little things that do one specific task, or they can be very extensive, right? And the way I like to contrast it is there's a plugin called Hello Dolly that does nothing besides on the admin page of a WordPress site, it puts snippets of the song Hello Dolly up on the top. Right? That's what it does. That's a plugin. But there's also WooCommerce, which takes a business website and turns it into an e-commerce website. So it allows you to set up products and do pricing and shipping and segment your products by type and everything. So just think of the scope of that, right? A little thing that puts a song lyric in an admin page, and a plugin that turns your site from a business-only site to an e-commerce site. Plugins can make changes to the front or the back end of your site. So plugins can be something that makes your site more attractive to your customers. So it can add a contact form for you to capture information for your customers, or create sliders. So it's a little more dynamic. Or it can do back end work like backups, make it easier for you to take backups of your site, help you add do your search engine optimization, help you get your meta descriptions in there and your title tags, or increase the security of your site. So plugins can do so much to your site, are they safe to use? And the answer is, you have to be careful with them, and you need to, only use the ones that you really need, and you want to make sure that the ones you're using are reputable. So you want to kind of use that same check that I talked about with the themes, right? There's tens of thousands of plugins, and you want to use the ones that are highly reviewed, that are recently updated, that have good support. When you pick the plugins you want to use, you want to keep them updated, and you only want to keep the plugins you're using installed and delete the ones that you're not using. And some examples of very common and well-used plugins are WooCommerce, All-in-One SEO, and Yoast SEO. Both of those will help you kind of set up your site to help with search engine optimization. Monster Insight will both give you information about like who's using your site and how they're using it, and it'll also help you set up Google Analytics on your site. Constant Contact and MailChimp will help you with email campaigns and contacting your customers. And WordPress Security is just one of the security tools that's out there to help you make your WordPress site more secure. And how do you install a plugin? It's very similar to how we would do a theme. From the WordPress menu, you go to plugins, and then you hit add new, you search for the plugin, you install it, you click the activation button on the plugin, and then from that point, it really depends on the plugin where it goes next, right? Some plugins require additional information, like for the WooCommerce, you have to give it your address, some information about you, what your type of business is, and that type of thing. So do we have any questions before we do the demo?
Yes, Michael is asking, I did a search for plugins to back up my website. Do you recommend any in particular, or what to avoid?
I don't off the top of my head, but if you email me after this, I can do some research and let you know.
That's all.
Okay. Okay, so we are going to we're going to customize our site and install a plugin. We're going to install WooCommerce, and then we're going to make our site an e-commerce site. Okay, so we're actually going to do that first. We're going to go down to plugins. And you can see we already have plugins on this site. We have an anti-spam plugin, and we have Google Analytics And we have this Hello Dolly, but it's not activated because I don't want to see Hello Dolly lyrics on my admin page. And we have some few others, right? But we're going to look for oh, I did add no. Okay. Okay, so that's WooCommerce, and we're going to go ahead and install it. And then we're going to hit activate. And it's thinking. Okay, so now it wants our address. So give her our address. I'm going to say no thanks. Okay, we're going to say other because we're not one of those. We're a dog care business. Okay, and we're going to say we do physical products, right? And if you notice, there were different prices based on the type of business you're in. So everything has a charge, right? We're using, since we have relatively low products and that type of thing, this is the free version of WooCommerce. But if you have a large number of products or you have one of those other things you want to do, everything, you know, there is a charge for things. And we're going to say we're not selling elsewhere. And we're just going to say, and then I don't want to do any of that right now. I'm just going to say continue. And it's thinking. Oh, I did say add recommended business features to my site. I usually click that off. I won't hurt any. Just take a little longer. Sorry about that. Okay, now it's recommending that you use their font, their themes, but you do not need to use their themes. You know, we looked at storefront, right? We didn't like it, so I'm going to say continue with my theme because my theme is compatible with WooCommerce. There's no reason not to use it. Okay. Okay, so it's saying, you know, we need a whole bunch more things to do, like adding products and setting up payments. So the next thing we're going to do, and if you look over here, we now have WooCommerce over in our menu, right? So that's new because we added that plugin. and we have orders and subscriptions, and we have payments, and we also have products, which we didn't have before, and payments. And if we go to pages, you can see we actually have some new pages. That plugin that we installed also added pages for us. It added a cart payment, a checkout payment, a shop payment, in a privacy policy that we could use to create our own policy, and a refunds and return policy that we could use to create our own. So it not only added, that's what I was saying, like this plugin compared to Low Dolly does quite a bit. So now we're going to go in and we're going to actually add a product. Right. And we are going to add a dog bowl for our dog care business. Now our product name is Zippy Blue Dog Bowl. And it's a 6-inch dog bowl. I'm going to skip the SEO stuff for right now. It's $15. It's not on sale. We're going to give it an SKU, a stock number. You can also have, you can also say how many you have in stock, and then every time somebody buys one, that'll go down. It'll manage your stock for you. So we'll just say we have 100. You can say whether or not you're going to, I'm pointing at the screen, whether or not you're allowed to go, take back orders, or you'll just tell people it's not available, that type of thing. You can say for shipping, how much does it weigh? How big is it? You can set up shipping classes, for all of that. So we'll say it weighs half a pound. But you can do all of, you can add linked products. Right now we only have one product, but if we had other dog bowls, you could add them here so that when somebody went to look at that dog bowl, they would see other dog bowls, right? So you can do all of that. And it's all a good idea. The other thing, so then over on this side, we have more that we need to set up. We need to set a product image. So we'll get we don't have the image yet, so we'll grab our image file. And we'll add our image, our Zippy dog bowl image. And then we should add all of this too, which I'm going to do right now. So now we have a product there. We can add a category. We can say it's a bowl, so that we can categorize all our products on our site. So if customers are looking specifically for bowls, they could just see bowls. If they were looking for leashes, they could see leashes. We can also set up tags. So we could say this is for feeding, right? So if we then also had dog food, if we had treats, and we could have people search for all of those things. But like I said, tags are, and then we could say this is for small dogs, right? Because tags, you can have multiple tags per product. So, so if people are looking for all things for small dogs, then they could find all the things for small dogs, because you can have multiple tags per product. Okay, so now we can publish this, and we have our first product.
Sheila, we have another question in the chat.
Okay.
Shira's asking, does WooCommerce sync listings with something like Shopify or Google Shopping?
It wouldn't sync with Shopify because that's a different content management system. It should sync with Google Marketplace. I haven't done that myself, but you should be able to get the products just like they can with Shopify. You can see them in Google Marketplace. Once you set up your products, you should be able to link them back in with Google Marketplace. Okay, so now if we go up to doggy tails, we can also see, along with visit site, we can also visit our store. So if we visit store, we can see our product. And And if we go back on the dashboard, if we go to our home page, am I doing on time? I'm doing okay. If we go to our home page, we can actually we can have our product show up on our home page, because one of the other things that WooCommerce did is it added new blocks, new blocks to our site also. So let's browse all. And if we scroll down, we can see these WooCommerce blocks, right? You can have on the web page show all, and you can do this on any page, all reviewed boxes, featured products, featured category products. So if you wanted to feature the bowls, you could feature that, featured products, handpicked products. But we're gonna have it show our newest products on our page. And now it's gonna show our zippy blue dog bowls on our homepage along with our cute little doggies. So if we go back up to doggy tails and we say visit site, oh shoot, I've done what I got to hit update. Okay, now if we go back to visit site, along with our doggies and our quote, we'll see our most recent products. And you can customize that to say show 3 of your most recent products or 4 of your most recent products, but that's what adding that plugin did. So you can see how powerful plugins can be. Okay, so we've done that part. So our site's already looking better, but let's change some other things. Like this menu is very long, and maybe is not how we would like to see it going forward. Like the cart and checkout and shop, maybe we'd like to have those all combined. So let's edit our menu. Let's see how we would do that. So there's actually 2 places you can edit it. You can do it from here. There's under appearance, there's menus, but there's also under customize, you can do it. I like doing it under customize. It's like a little nicer looking. Oh, actually, I have it done here. Okay, let me go back. All right, let's do it under menus because that's what I wrote down in my notes. All right, so let's go under appearance and menus. Okay, so this is how we have it now, right? So, you know, about us is very important, but it's probably not the most important thing that you want people to do on your site. But the most important thing you probably want them to do on your site is shop. So you can just pick this up and move it so it's the next thing after your home page. You can even move it so it's, oh, you know what I made it. You can move it so it's even above home on your menu bar, since people are already probably at your home. You can then move your cart if you like right under shop, and you can make checkout a sub menu of cart. Okay, then you can move about us under checkout, and you can move the blog so that it's a sub menu of about us, and you can move my account so that it's under, right? So now we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 things at our top level menu, and then most of them will have sub menus. So let's save that. And see how that looks. Okay, so now we have shop, cart, about us, and home. And the shop, you can get to my account. And from cart, you can get to checkout. And from about us, you can get to the blog. And you can also just get to about us. Okay, so that's how you would edit your menu. And like I said, you can, you know, make it look how you like, but you can kind of keep it tidy, or, you know. So one of the things, other things you probably would like to do is get your social media and maybe your contact information on your page also. So let's do some more customization of our page. And go to our dashboard and go to appearances and go to customize. And how to customize your footer is going to be very different for for different themes. So in this one, there's actually a footer builder, right? A lot of them, when we saw before, you'll see widgets, and then the widgets will have things for footers. So just be aware of that. Like if you say, how do I, like, oh, let's see, in that web thing, she said there's going to be footer builder. And that's what's in this theme, right? There's a footer builder, which it's just one of the reasons I like this theme is it's kind of clear how you want to do things. But and if you noticed in 2020, there was the widget thing, and then what was going to be in the footer was in widgets. So just something to be cognizant of when you go to build your footer. It may depend on your theme how you build your footer. Okay, so you go into footer builder, and then say we want to add our social media. Click in here, and there's this is a block, right? Just like the other blocks, and this block is for social media. So so now we have a social media block, and we want to, so it's put them on here, but it hasn't set them up. So we'll click on here, and we'll actually set up our social media. And for this site, we're only going to set up Facebook and Instagram, right? So we're going to go ahead and get rid of Twitter. And the way you do that, like we'll say no Twitter, give it a little X, right? So now we have Facebook and Instagram. So we'll go to the Facebook, and you would give it your URL, and just put it right in there. And then move on to Instagram, give it your Instagram. And do it right there. Now, if you have other social media accounts, like if you have Pinterest, you can add them, right? No problem. If you want to add LinkedIn, you can add it. If there's another Facebook you wanted to add, you can add it. Then you would just add it in here and add the social icon, and then configure it. And then you definitely want to hit publish. And as you see, since we deleted Twitter, it went away here, and now we just have Facebook and Instagram. All right, so now say we want to put also our contact information on here. We would go into to this block up here. And we're just going to pick widget 1, all right? And then we're going to go into widget 1, and with the little plus sign. And because it's just saying the widget 1 just says, I'm going to add something here. And it's not something specific like social media, but I'm going to tell it that I want to add my contact info, right? So it came up. So I just put, if you're in this block and you just want to search for something and you kind of know the name, if you put slash and the start of it, it'll give you some options that start with that, right? So that's what I did. Since I knew I wanted contact information, I put slash and CON, and it came up with all the things that kind of start with that. It came up with the things that started with that, and then the ones I've used most recently. So I'm going to pick contact info, and then it gave me that. And then basically I just start filling this in, right? So I give it my phone number and all of that. So I click on this widget. and then publish, and you can link it to the site. And there we go. Well, it's still thinking publish. Okay, and then we talked about adding your logo and your favicon. Oh, I don't want to hit that, but we can see what it looks like so far. Okay. Can look down the bottom. We can see we have our address and we have those guys, so it's good. So let's go back to the dashboard and appearances, customize, and then site identity. Right. And we can select our logo. Okay, and then that's way too big, right? So we want to make it much smaller. There you go. So we have our logo on top. And when we pick that site icon, I don't know if you can see because it's kind of tiny, but now we have our little logo up here as our favicon. So we now have our logo and our favicon on our site. So now our site has our homepage, product, our image, and a favicon. Any questions?
Nope, we're looking good.
Okay, great. Okay, so you would just continue to add products and flesh out your pages to make the site fully functional. And when you're doing that, one of the things you need to think about is your images. And that's what we're going to talk about next. So images, people process visual information faster than text. And good images can engage your customers and draw them into your site, right? So your images should be relevant and add the message to your website. Now that's all good, right? But the kind of downside to that is that they're one of the largest contributors to your page site, right? So it's best to use original images, but so use the original. It's best to use original images, but there are resources available for stock images. But you always want to check the licensing terms to make sure they're available for you to use. If you see a great image on a website or someplace else, you can't just capture that image and start using it on your website. It's almost always covered by copyright. But there are sites and that you can use them, right? And I'll show those after this. Some tips for images: name your pictures prior to loading them, so that when they are loaded to your site, they already have like a name. Create good alt tags for all your images, good description. So for like this picture down here, a good alt tag might be 3 daisies on a sunny blue day, something like that. You want alt tags to be 1 to 2 sentences and to describe the picture for somebody who is visually impaired. You also, if you can, put in some keywords, but the primary purpose is to describe the picture for somebody who's visually impaired. You want to use high quality images. This article will talk about, what high quality images are about, so you can read that. You want to use the right format, PNG files or JPEGs. If you have a large image, you do want to compress it to improve the load time of your site. These are all, you can use multiple things to compress an image. Adobe Photoshop and the Adobe suite have great ways to compress files, and there's other, really high-end tools that can do that, but there are some free sites on the web that will compress files for you for free. They certainly don't do as great a job as, wonderful image manipulation tools, but they're also really easy to use, right? So these are some of them. For free stock images, these are some great sites. Most of the pictures on my website that I just created and on the PowerPoint presentations I've gotten from these sites. But you do need to check the license agreement, right? A lot of these have royalty-free images and ones you may need to pay for. Canva, same thing. There's some free places, there's a free Canva and a pay for Canva. So you just need to be careful and check what the licensing is. Like this iconography site, my previous, the WordPress for One, I used an icon from that. An icon would be something like this, what we have here next to PadTap. And for there, if you use that, their icons, you do have to put the attribution, who created that icon. You can still use the picture, but you have to put the attribution with it. So that's what I'm saying, you need to check the licensing before you use them. So we'll do a quick demo on media because I know we're getting pretty much out of time, but I'll just show you a couple things on the site.
Shira is asking, what are ideal compression settings to improve speed but not lose quality?
Yeah, that article I have on there we'll talk about that. In general, you want to keep the image site, the images, the size of your images on your website around 100 K, because it really does slow down your site. But it does depend on, it's really hard to say because it depends on like the, like even on this site, like the bigger dog picture is, it depends on the width and the pixels of the picture, but that article will go into that. That's why I put it on there. Okay, so your media site is where you're going to have all your pictures. And we'll just do this quick. So you can have, and in this media site, you don't just have to have the pictures, but for each picture you have, when you go in and look, it will tell you like what that alt text is, right? So here I have small dog sleeping on a tote blanket at dog day center, right? And the title, I just have dog daycare, and caption, if you ever wanted to see this, would be like sweet dog dreams, right? So those are the kind of things you want to put in here for your images. It'll also show you, and this one, because it will show you where this picture is being used, right? So if you have an image on there and you're thinking, do I even use this picture? It will show you where it's being used, okay? The other thing is you can also have video and even Word documents out here. And this can come in handy if you're actually selling media on your site, right? So you can actually have them on here if you're selling media on your site. And the way you just upload those is just like what I was uploading the pictures. You just put them on there and you drop them, drag and drop them. And then I did want to show you the compression just to give you an idea. Okay, so this is one of the compression sites, and everything's okay. Not that one. Okay, so we have this picture, and it's dog with a yellow raincoat. And you can see it's 447K without compression, right? So we're going to pick it up and we're going to drop it in here, and it took it from that to 282K, right? So it compressed it by about 38% and got it down into the range that you might want to use it on your website. And then if you download it, it'll show up in your download file. And when you look at it, that's what it looks like. Okay. That's what it looks like compressed, right? Still pretty good. And this is what it looked like, not compressed. So, you know, you may have lost some resolution, but probably not enough that people are going to notice. Okay. Okay, so along with this, so there's a lot to learn with WordPress, and I don't know that we could squish it all in even to 2-hour sessions. So I did include at the end of the presentation some other resources for learning WordPress, including YouTube's a YouTube series, and they do try to sell you hosting. They always, all the YouTube things always try to sell you hosting because they make a profit off you buying that hosting. So don't, certainly can buy their hosting or don't, but just, that's not required. And I'm not endorsing the hosting they're talking about. It's just a pretty good beyond that presentation. WordPress itself has a lot of tutorials that are very good for continuing learning WordPress. This is another good site for learning WordPress, and LinkedIn also has WordPress classes. Now, LinkedIn does charge for them. It's free if you have premium LinkedIn. You also get the first month free, but you just need to make sure if you don't want to keep paying for it that you cancel it. And then it's either a subscription or you can purchase individual classes. So they're all good resources for continuing learning WordPress, and they're also Udemy classes, but again, they're pay. So thank you for joining us today. And are there any additional questions?
Nope. And while I have a moment here, I'm just going to mention 2 links that I posted in the chat. The first is to a quick survey that takes less than a minute to complete. It is required by our funders, so please let us know how we did. And then the second link is to the Temple SBDC resource page, which has registration links for upcoming webinars, previous webinar recordings, and a bunch of other resources, including access to funding. So if anyone would like to check that out, the link is in the chat. And on that note, I think that we are good to close out. I'm going to pass it back to you, Sheila.
Okay. Well, again, thank you so much for coming today. I really enjoy having you here. The SBDC, we provide additional small business consulting at no cost. So, including individual consulting and, assistance with legal and business consulting. Our resources and training, we have training programs, webinars, resource sharing clinics. To see upcoming training events, you can scan this QR code either now or when you get the materials. And for information on how to contact us, here it is. And again, it will be included in the notes. So everyone have a great rest of your afternoon, and enjoy the sunshine that seems to be coming out. So thank you all for joining me this afternoon.
Right.